I live in a strata complex in WA and I'm on the Council of Owners. With recently introduced laws covering maintenance of common property, we had a 10-year maintenance plan report carried out and created a fund out of levies to cover all of the listed items. The complex is in a strong financial position, which is really good to hear, with 30,000 surplus funds in the administrative fund, separate to the maintenance plan fund, and that's growing every month. The Council of Owners had suggested a recent AGM that we could afford to paint the fascias and guttering on each unit out of the $30,000 surplus as a way of keeping the exterior of the complex, which faces common property. However, the Strata Company has rejected this request, saying it's not common property and not payable out of these funds. With a maintenance plan in place, there is a lot of excess funds. Can we, as a Council of Owners, enforce expenditure for items other than common property? And is there a need to keep building such a surplus?
So in this instance, I'm assuming that the boundaries to the lots are to the external surfaces and therefore an owner's responsibility. In the end, the council can't enforce the expenditure, particularly if at the AGM the owners voted against it. In the end, at any AGM, if a motion is put restricting actions of the council, then the council can't contravene those motions. And likewise, if the Strata Company passes motions requiring the Council of Owners to do certain works, the Council of Owners can't refuse that instruction. So they can't enforce the expenditure. With regards to the surplus funds, if they've had the 10-year maintenance plan undertaken, and that gives them a guideline around what their future expenditure on maintenance of common property would entail. So that's their best guide to determining, do they need to keep building any surplus within their reserve. You can structure bylaws that enable the Strata Company to maintain owners' lots, and this is particularly relevant where you have the strata plan, which puts the boundaries to the external of the lot. Because when you have this on a building, if you can't expect the owner to paint the outside of the building, and it could end up in a patchwork quilt if you did undertake that. So it is generally anticipated that you would pass a bylaw empowering the Strata Company to maintain certain items of the owner's property, which is generally the painting of the external boundaries of the lots. So that would perhaps be the next best suggestion, is they get that bylaw drafted and introduce it at the next a general meeting of the Strata Company so that they can undertake these works.
Okay, and is it usual for the Strata Company to have excess of surplus funds in the administrative fund like that, or?
Again, $30,000. It doesn't really detail the size of the scheme, so it's hard to say is that surplus, and without actually knowing what makes up the common property. It's hard to determine if that is a surplus or if it's just a reasonable amount. Like as I suggested, the 10-year maintenance plan will give them the best guide to what needs to maintain within the scheme, and then what needs to be raised going forward over the next 10 years. So I strongly encourage them to refer to the 10-year maintenance plan and identify those items which they are responsible for and do need to be actioned, and budget accordingly. If they can reduce the reserve, then that's great. But yeah, refer back to the 10-year maintenance plan.